making big moves is a lot. It happens really fast. It's a lot easier.
Right.
But I've already been on our 68, which with the new repower by Caterpillar, we keep a 39 to 41 knot cruise on that boat now. 80% load. I keep the boat light. We've already had it where we're passing center consoles.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
You get a lot of looks.
On this one in particular too, with that walk around feature.
Yeah. And in the bow,
that's going to come in quite handy.
Yeah, and in the bow, there's going to be a nice live well setup with pitch tubes, and so it's going to have fishability 360 degrees. We're going to be able to run kites off the front, the back. It's going to have a Seakeeper 18.
Triples and quad fighting is going to be a lot easier on this
walk
one.
Around
I'm sure,
no question. In this kind of boat, really, if you have the resources to have onshore accommodations or a mothership or anything like that, this is kind of where I think it would all head if you had a choice. Because even if you took this to Mag Bay, you take it to Mag Bay, you take it to Costa Rica. I mean, and nowadays we're all fishing a lot lighter tackle. We're moving away from the snag and drag, heavy drag situations.
Right.
We're figuring out that the fish come to the boat a lot faster on lighter drag most of the times, and they get released in much better condition.
Yeah, I was talking to Carl Anderson, which Carl Anderson is on the show a lot. He's a good friend.
Mm-hmm.
And he really makes it a good point, like, especially if you're marlin fishing, you should be IGFA tackle equipped at all times, just in case you run into the one.
Exactly.
That's another good reason, I think, to be light.
I agree. I mean, and it depends on where you're from. My background and where I started, it was all lighter tackle, striped marlin fishing, Pacific sail fishing, things like that. And I was never in the Northeast as a young kid with the tuna fishermen who are predominantly, they really like to use heavy drag, heavy big tackle. So, I mean, I prefer to use less drag, better boat handling, and go about it that way. And nowadays with technology like we have, we use all Shimano. I switched recently. I got rid of all my Tiegra 50s and I switched to Talica 50s with Winthrop butts, so they can be bent butt or straight. And I mean, you could put plenty of drag on any fish you want to fight with them. There's some guys down here in South Florida that are using them now for sword fishing, for deep dropping. It did a lot of things for me. I mean, it's a better piece of equipment, better return, ratio. But also it's like, instead of carrying so many, I got rid of 6 to 12 rods in my storage on the boat by just bringing in the adjustable butt and the Talica 50.
The Talicas.
Yeah.
I mean, Talica's so nice.
They're nice. They're great, man. You just have to do your maintenance on them every year. And like from the BFCs to the 25s to the 50s, that's predominantly what we use, unless we're in North Carolina at the Big Rock with 130s, or we're in Hyannis fishing for giants with 130s.
Right.
Pretty much everything is on a Talica now, besides those.
So, I mean, you guys had a pretty good last season at the tunas up there in the Northeast.
The last time I was there, it was great. I mean, we did a couple tournaments and did well. Caught a couple giants. It was a great season to be up there. I think one day in a release tournament, we released 31 juvenile bluefin tuna, which is juvenile is from 40 to 65-ish inches. Yeah. 31 in a day.
Right. Baby Volkswagens.
Yeah. Yep. So, and it was funny because that day, the tournament is put on by my buddy Jonas at Slip, who is one of the partners in Slip 21 in Nantucket. And he did it. And we all hear about how diminished the tuna population is. And we always fish conservation minded. But at the end of that day, I think 32 boats released 500 plus bluefin tuna.
Yeah.
From 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. So we're headed in the right direction. There's no question.
We're headed in the right direction. I really think, it's a combination of factors. We bring Andy Moyes on the show, and he's got some really great input on the thing, and he's an expert on bluefin tuna. And, I think it's a combination of conservational efforts and just migration patterns.
Yeah, it changes all the time.
Everyone was so concerned about the whole Nova Scotia thing and them not being around for years that everyone freaked out. And I just think that they don't give the fish enough credit for understanding that they just moved away from where they were getting caught all the time.
Well, and fortunately, I've been able to make a lot of good friendships in Cape Cod and Hyannis, and it's a great group. It's really an amazing group of guys to be a part of because it's the history and what they have to offer there, from fluke fishing to striped bass fishing to bluefin tuna to really the best canyon fishing on the East Coast is the Northeast Canyons. You know, and it's like if you talk to somebody who's been there for 20, 30 years, they identify the different groups that are coming through their waters annually. The last year I had there, giants were more in the bay and the smaller juveniles were off Chatham and off the Cape. And, you know, we were trolling for the smaller ones. We were live baiting for the bigger ones. And then the following year, which was last summer, which I was in the Dominican Republic, I wasn't up there, more of the giants were out on the Cape. And, you know, it had kind of flipped. But they can identify with the different groups that are coming through year after year. And it is like a different group every 5, 6, 7 years, like they see a pattern. So you're right. It just the way they migrate is we don't know.
Yeah.
And
no one's got their finger on that.
No, it's just important for us to pay attention to the quotas.
Right.
Just be conservation minded the whole time. You know, there's nothing wrong with taking your limit on juveniles, you know, if you're going to use it properly and you actually have the people around to use the meat. But there's many days where we could kill 3 and we only kill 1.
Yeah.
You know, and some days I have guests on the boat and we just release all day. So before we take anything, we make sure it has a place that it's going to go for a purpose. And if it doesn't have that, we release.
And that's the way to do it.
It is
really
the way to do it.
I mean, it's got to have a use.
It does. It does. So, and I mean, we have if you grew up hunting, and which I did a little bit and I'm doing more these days, we do the same thing with deer. You know, you want to take out the deer that might be on the last part of his hurrah years, you know, so that you let the younger ones come up, and, you know, you got to be conservation minded.
Right. So 100%. So I'm going to segue
Go ahead.
the conservation talk into our Starbright do-gooder.
Oh boy.
Well, I mean, this one's actually a little sad.
Okay.
Because I asked Corey Redwine for who's the do-gooder this week, and she sends over this guy, Redfish Chuck. Okay. Redfish Chuck passed away.
Okay.
And he is being posthumously honored as our do-gooder. It's Charles Levi Jr., and they call him Redfish Chuck. Passed away, and Corey would like to give him the honorary Starbright do-gooder of the week here. So I don't know Chuck. I'm just saying what she told me to say here. So he sounds like he was a great guy. They're having.
Where's he from?
He's from the Merritt Island area, and they're having a Banana River scavenger hunt in his honor to do a conservation pickup in that area for him. So Starbright honors him as the do-gooder of the week. So here to
Redfish Chuck.
Redfish Chuck and his family. So definitely. All right. So
very
conservation,
cool.
Right?
Definitely.
Cheers to Chuck.
Buddy.
You know, I was thinking about when you're coming in, and you know, just briefly, I didn't think about it too much because we're just friends, and you and I could just talk
because we
forever.
talk twice a week anyway.
Right. Like we're going to talk about it on the show, and I was thinking about some of the stuff that we were talking about. We had such a good podcast last time you were on. You came on with Ben.
With Ben, yeah.
Yeah, and we talked about you know, that captive life and having to be away, and you know, and how that takes a toll. It takes a kind of a family to go through everything and really just do it all together. And it was such an impactful, you know, powerful thing. And you know, and even still, like, you know, with some of the stuff that we do here and all the big projects that we work on, and that takes away. from family life. And, I wanted to touch on that, a little bit and bring a little bit of the God conversation.
Oh boy.
Back into play. Well, listen, I mean, because, we talk all the time and, obviously you and I have these moments where we're up and down and.
Oh yeah, it's life, man.
Yeah. And it's life. And I just wanted to kind of ask, where everything is going for you in your heart and your head, I mean, I know it's a loaded question.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
And it's definitely something. So I always have a check system of checks and balances for like me, my family. My wife might not think I have it, but it's always in the back of my mind. And I've been very blessed to be where I'm at in my career. And a lot of that is because obviously she has stayed home. She has covered all the bases when I wasn't around and still continues to do so on a very, very, large scale.
I think that's an essential thing.
It is.
I mean, because Liz does the same thing.
But I'm getting to the point. So I think I've been working on boats for 20, on and off for the first 5 or 6 years. It wasn't like a full time, but merit, like it has been something I've been involved in for 22 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm getting to the 20-year mark of kind of my ride. And my wife has started her own little business, which is an alteration. She does wedding and formal alterations, which has actually taken off incredibly.
That's fantastic.
She's doing great.
That's good.
She's an artist. Like, she's mastering music, classical music, and she's just an art person.
An amazing person too.
She's awesome.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm getting to the point in my career where she is starting to maybe have something or take off on her part. So I might have to step back. It's the give and the take.
Mm-hmm.
She's given and given and given, and now she's in a season where she might take a little more, and I might have to give, which is something I'm completely fine with.
Mm-hmm.
You're always nervous if you step away from something that something might not be there or this or that. But I mean, really in my heart and in my mind is if you're doing the right thing for your family,
right.
If you're doing the right thing for the people who really matter the most to you, because I'll be honest with you, Singularis tournaments and all this stuff we get to do is great, but really the only reason I do this job is to provide for them.
Yeah.
Like that's really it. I mean, a lot of people, it's funny because when I got the job on Singularis, I come from yachts, and everybody, I kind of got a lot of shit, to be totally honest. Like, people were saying things about me that didn't know me, and they're like, how did this guy end up with this job on this 90-foot Bayliss? Nobody knows him. Well, the truth of the matter is I came from the West Coast. I came from, my fishing background was primarily West Coast based. The guys I looked up to were like Pete Grosbeck, Steve Lasley, Bad Company, The Beak. So I grew up in a different place. I learned in a different place. And before that, it was in Northeast Florida. I didn't do a lot of traveling. I did a lot of bottom,
Mm-hmm.
But there was a time in my sport fishing career early that I knew I needed to make more money.
Right.
And at that time, fiscally, you weren't going to make the right amount of money to support a family in sport fishing. And there are a lot of guys, and hey, if they want to do it, they can do it. They just have to be fishing. But I never saw that. I could never do that. If my family's not fed, if the bills aren't paid, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
So if I have to go run a motor yacht, I will go run a motor yacht. I'll go, I love driving boats. And the big thing for me too, side note, is I always just love boats. Sport fishing boats, this is my passion. I love it. And I get to work on some of the best boats in the world now, which I'm very grateful for. But really, I just love boats. And in my yachting career, I got to work on boats like Christensen's, which it was an amazing build for many years out of the Northwest. I got to spend time working directly for the owner of Burger Boats out of Wisconsin, which I got to meet amazing craftsmen and shipbuilders and learn so much from those guys because they build arguably the best American-built yacht at that time in the United States. So I learned a lot. So to answer the question, the people like, where'd this kid come from? What happened is, well, when a gentleman has a 90-foot Bayliss that's, expensive to insure and you need a qualified person, you can't directly put somebody from a smaller sport fishing boat onto a vessel like that.
Right.
They need to have some of the yacht, the bigger tonnage experience, and that's how I really earned it. So if I wouldn't have followed the need to provide for my family into yachting and put more money in the bank and pay the bills and get that experience, I would have never ended up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have never ended up here.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, I'm dropping. But so I mean, I kind of went off on a rant there, but really, I mean, with me and
that's right. We're drinking rum. You're on a podcast. I'll allow it.
I know.
Cheers.
Cheers. I mean, the bottom line of it is I do my very best every day. To be a good husband and to be a good dad, and I fall short every day. I am selfish every day. I don't do the right things every day, but I'm always conscious. I try to be conscious of kind of the pulse of my family.
Sure. I think that's the compass, right?
That's the compass.
Yeah.
I think if you're a family guy and you want to be a successful family guy, your compass is having a pulse for your family.
Yeah.
And going into the Bible part of it, which I have battled with, I went to Bible school and pursued a career in the ministry and everything else is I have always tried to figure out, and it sounds cheesy, but what would Jesus do? So when I get into situations or things in my life, like I just break it all down to really like, who was Jesus, how he handled situations, and how that applies to my life. I don't really worry about too much of the red tape in religion because I am not into religion at all. I don't even really go to that much church anymore. I have certain guys I listen to and I have certain books I read, but I don't really fall into a spot.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just try to take what I learned from that into how I am with my family.
I think there's a lot to be learned from that.
Yeah.
Because right now, one of my, you call it New Year's resolution, if you will, which I never do a New Year's resolution.
I always do them to lose weight.
Yeah.
Never works.
Well, hey, let me tell you. Oh, this is what I want to tell you. Don't let me forget to talk about this Bible thing. But anyway, so this is what I wanted to tell you earlier because this is the other thing I forgot. So I'm getting that procedure done.
Mm-hmm.
And sure, we could all lose weight kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, when it comes down to it, it's like, I need to lose like 15, 20 pounds, the doctor's saying. He's like, hey, whatever. And I'm like, well, just do the operation and I'll get on the Atlee machine. I'll be good because I'm not going to stop eating. Like my wife, I'm not. I'm really not. Like my wife tries to tell me, oh, you got to go on a diet. You got to eat better. You got to eat this. I'm like, but I like chicken wings. Right? And I like steaks.
Then I show up.
Yeah. He comes in with the triple threat and everything. I'm
triple
like,
threat.
Like Peter Griffin. Yeah.
Keep it up. You'll be just like Peter Griffin.
Anyway, I like being fat.
I like being fat. No.
You don't like it?
No.
I'm sorry. I like it.
God.
Anyway, that's the way I see it. The doctor's like, oh, yeah, you need to lose weight. I'm like, yeah, the other doctor told me that too. You too? You think this too? Damn. Anyway. So I'm doing this thing. This is the New Year's resolution, right?
Yeah.
My sister turned me on to this. And not that you need it because you went to Bible school, right? But
I probably do.
Well, no, actually, it's a really good thing. It's a really good thing. So she did it last year, and she's like, you got to do this. You got to do this because it's 20 minutes a day. And it's just called Bible in a Year, right? And it's just Father Mike Schmitz, and it's a 20-minute podcast every morning. And they have this whole timeline, the way they do it, and they couple up Genesis with Job, and and now we're on Exodus with Leviticus, and then there's commonalities there.
Have you ever had a 365 Bible?
No.
Okay.
So this is the first time I'm doing that, right? Mm-hmm. And what I'm finding, this is the whole reason I'm bringing it up, right? It's not to tell, I'm not trying to thump, and I'm not trying to, tell people this is what they got to do with your life. I'm not trying to promote it. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and how I'm reflecting that to my family. Mm-hmm. Because one of my big struggles, and this is where you and I have a lot in common, is we're both love our families more than anything. We'll do whatever we can for our families. So we'll make sacrifices professionally, while still trying to follow the passion at the same time, but you're going to try to weave it in. Like sometimes I'll take on projects I don't necessarily want to do, but I'll do it because it's got a good number on it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm like, that'll make the family happy if I cash that check in and whatever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But it's not necessarily the path I want to go on. But you'll do those, you'll take those jobs and you'll try to make it all work out. Right. But there's things. What I learned in doing this so far is when you read the Bible, people think you read a bunch of stories, right? And rather than reading it as the story, right? From Genesis to Revelation, and you basically read how the Old Testament goes into the New Testament. Right? They're not two separate books. It is all still one book. It's all still one story, right? And I never really looked at it like that. I never really looked at the Old Testament like that. And how with like salvation and all that, and I know I'm getting on a thumping rant, right? with throwing out big words like that.
He's doing it, not me.
I'm doing it, not me. But my point is it's making me a better father.
Yeah,
it really is. It's exhibiting to me patience and purpose.
Yeah,
right. Which I'm seeing that by doing that, and it's been helping me.
Yeah. Well, I think if you don't, the biggest thing a person needs, and if they don't have it, they become lost. And you could tell lost, like you meet people and they're all over, their life fluctuates, it goes up and down through so many valleys and high points and this and that, is they don't have purpose.
Right.
They don't have purpose. And for you and I, purpose is obviously our kids and our wife. That's a huge point of purpose for us, which gives us in turn stability,
right? Because
you have a reference point and a compass. For the younger generations nowadays, and for people that are older and single, you got to find a different way to find your purpose.
Right.
And something that I'm not thumping.
I think this is also why with the younger people, it's tougher to get them.
Well, we've totally come to a point where, we've entered this realm in society where we almost make fun of everything.
Yeah.
And we laugh at you and I even. We just, and we have to take a few steps back and we have to realize what is really humorous and what is really harmful.
Right.
In our communication with others. And unfortunately, if you run into a person who is very excited about what they're doing, very enthusiastic, very almost like you almost can't believe how happy they are to be doing it, but it's genuine. But in today's society, 8 out of 10 times, that person will be perceived wrong or made fun of, which will then basically put out that enthusiasm and that thing there. And that thing there, that natural enthusiasm that our society usually shuns on now, makes fun of, or they try to extinguish, that is a young person trying to find their purpose. And we're totally shitting on it.
Yeah,
8 out of 10
100%.
times. And what happens after our youth and our young adults go out in society continues to shit on and make fun of or discredit their enthusiasm or passion about something. We end up with a group of people in their 30s, 40s, 50s who have zero purpose. They've been beaten down.
No compass.
And they're just wandering around.
Right.
We're seeing what happens.
It
sucks.
So true.
It sucks. And I come from an industry and work in an industry where we are the toughest guys on the planet. You walk down every dock, there's a straight face, and everybody's sizing everybody up. And listen, I hope I am the jolliest motherfucker on that place.
Yeah.
I hope they want to come after me for every happy thing I'm saying, because you know what? I am lucky to be here. I am happy to be here. I'm in a very good situation. And if you want to come at me, because I'm confident enough to withstand that shit.
Yeah.
It's not going to get to me. It's not going to. But we need to, as a group of people, especially if you're put into a position of leadership and of influence, and you see a person that has genuine enthusiasm, genuine passion, we need to begin to take those people in, raise those people up, give them the resources they need to be successful, because that is what's going to turn all this stuff around. And we haven't done that.
No, we haven't.
We haven't done it. Like, we have so many insecure people walking the streets of this planet that they might have great ideas. They might be brilliant. I mean, they might be the next Einstein, but they got 50 kids that are hooked to TikTok and Instagram and all the crap, knocking them down every day. And it's like, what do you do with that?
It is such a weird world right now with that.
It is.
I mean, my daughter's 12.
Mm-hmm.
My
daughter's 12.
Right. Right. Yeah. Her only aspiration in life is to be a YouTuber. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And she does it. We let her. She's on YouTube Kids, and we monitor it, and we do it with her. You know, we're involved. We don't just, oh yeah, sure, get right ahead and do your own thing. You know, no, I'm doing it with her. Like, she did the whole. She wanted to use my phone and take recordings and do all these things, and she documented our trip to St. Augustine this weekend.
That's awesome.
And she recorded her grandparents and us and everything like that. And it's a fun little video, and she's putting it all together as we speak. You know, and it's awesome, but it's scary at the same time to really.
Because the predators and all the stuff that's out there.
Predators and all the stuff that's out there, but also, I mean, I'm an involved dad, you know, and I want, you know, it's a medium that I kind of know a little bit about, so I can get into it with her and everything. Like, we can do it together.
Yeah.
But there's also other kids that don't have an involved parent, and they don't have that person that understands all that, and they just don't want to be bothered with their kid, and that's just what my kid's into, and that's where it gets, I think, a little bit dangerous, and that's where I think you see all these girls seeing the other girls doing it, and then they got all the likes and followers, and then it becomes unrealistic, and they want to the duck lips and all that. Right?
Yeah, and I have kind of gotten away from doing because obviously I've been in the business of people a little bit in my life and had some education on different things like that. Some, not a lot, but that's the point. That's the problem that we're getting to, because like I said, we're dealing with a group of people, like parents. You might be 40 or 50 and have kids and have a job and this and that, but you're still insecure. And the biggest problem with insecurities, and I have insecurities and we all have them.
Sure.
Like, there's nothing wrong with having insecurities. In fact,
I'm an artist, I have a huge amount of insecurities, trust me.
I have a huge amount too. I mean, but to me, it's like, if I ever get a clue that I'm meeting someone that's insecure, the first thing I do is I try to just listen, give them my undivided attention, and just try to take them seriously and, engage with them. Because these kids nowadays, yes, they're growing up with parents who are insecure. And if they're insecure, they're out there trying to cure their insecurities instead of being able to parent.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're predisposed with, I feel like this, I feel like that, but the kids aren't getting the right attention. So, I mean, and I could go even further back to like when we started talking about the Bible stuff, is like, what's the best thing simply put, what's the best thing Jesus can add to things? Well, if a human being learns about Jesus and the Bible is true, he died on the cross for your sins. All your sins are forgiven once you confess he is your Lord and Savior. I'm not trying to thump. Once you research the way he lived with unconditional love and the way he walked through life, and you model your life after that, I would pretty much bet you might grow up a little more secure and have less insecurities.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, and that's that's kind of how it goes. I mean, if you really truly, and this is like, a lot of people want to go, oh, religion is bad, and, and blah blah, and all this, that, the other thing. I don't need it in my life because as long as I'm a good person, blah blah. Okay, I understand that, but there's a certain thing that structure does for you that keeps you in line, and
it's accountability.
Yeah, it's accountability, and if you really look at the lessons. That are documented, and if you follow those lessons, then I'm pretty sure you're going to be a fair person in life.
I mean, I might get in trouble for saying this too by some of my more religious pastors, friends that are pastors and actively in the ministry and things like that. But Jesus and Christianity aside, just take the ethics and the lessons and apply them to your life of how you conduct yourself. I'll pretty much bet on you're going to be pretty successful.
Right.
I do not doubt it. Now, you will be missing out on a relationship that I think is very valuable to help you understand and have more compassion and love for yourself. But I would bet if you took those values and those steps into your normal life, you would be pretty well off.
Now, I've always, I can't say that I've always had the best relationship, with God and Jesus and all this. Who can say that, right? But it's gotten better over the years.
Mm-hmm.
And the incredible thing that I recognized is how when the better I built my foundation
mm-hmm.
is I've noticed my family respond to it in a positive way without them even realizing it, maybe, and without me even trying to push it so hard.
Yeah.
I have noticed a difference in my family and my kids and their happiness and,
mm-hmm.
And simple things like you sit down for dinner, what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Say grace before a meal, like things like that. And they respond to that.
Yeah.
It's a good structure for your family.
Well, and the biggest huge thing is the love of the Father.
Right.
So you go back to Christianity, what is it? It's the love of the Father.
Yeah.
Well, what are you doing? It's the love of the Father.
Yeah.
You're loving your family in a godly manner, and they're growing and flourishing because of that. Yeah. It's like having a garden outside. A garden without a gardener is not a garden.
Yeah.
And a father to a family is a gardener. That's, you got to put water on it. You got to, and you know what? If you don't feel like going out and watering your garden that day, too bad. Yeah. Garden's still out there. You got to go water it.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. So, no, man, it's all good.
The way I kind of, one of the reasons I wanted to bring this up too is because, and we don't have to keep going down that rabbit hole, but, there's things about, running your own business. And
mm-hmm.
I left my day job 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. And
we've
had a pretty successful studio.
Mm-hmm.
We've done pretty well here.
You're doing pretty good, Dennis. I'm proud of you.
No, I'm just saying it's, but that doesn't mean that we don't second guess it.
Yep.
All the time.
I agree.
Should we move? You know what I mean? Should we just shut this down and go work out of our house? I've had these conversations with Nick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, are we going to, you got it. There's something to be said for adapting, evolving.
You always have to.
You always have to. But then there's also, what's going to make you happy and what's going to make your family happy. And, I've made the effort to be home more in the last year, and it's been great for the family, but hasn't necessarily been the best for the business.
No.
You know what I mean?
So
it's like trying to find that balance is a very tough thing to do.
No, and that's something, I was very fortunate at a young age. My dad was a third shift truck driver for a grocery store.
Yeah.
Early in my life. So basically from
in Michigan?
Yes, in
Ice
Michigan.
Road trucker.
No, he wasn't Ice Road. I'm sure there were icy roads.
Hey, to me that's an Ice Road trucker. All right.
So he worked third shift delivering groceries to grocery stores. Meanwhile, he started a business franchise which ended up becoming part of what is now the UPS store. So he would work third shift, he'd get home, he would shower and shave and eat breakfast with us, and then he would go work all day long in his first box store that he opened.
Right.
And then he would go to bed at like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and he'd wake up again at 10 o'clock. And he did that for 3 years.
That's hardcore.
But I could see, and I don't own a personal business. I'm not in that line of work like you are. I don't have my own shop. But I can see and appreciate.
It's a pain in the ass.
It's hard, really, man.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
I wouldn't go back to a regular job right now.
No.
You know what I mean? Or ever, I don't think. But it's just different.
Yeah.
Man. It's hard.
So I got to see what he went through to start his business and where his business ended up going, and through selling it off, when he sold his franchise company and everything else. And meanwhile, while he did that, he only did the 2 jobs with the growth for 3 years. But then after that, there was vending and arcades and restaurants, and that's what he was geared towards. He just did that.
Yeah.
And in my job now, working for the owners that have these boats, I get to see firsthand too, and get to know them and their pursuit of that. And it's been a pretty amazing ride to start with my dad, see how he did it, and these guys do it. I've had a good front row seat to all this craziness. that built so many huge things.
Yeah, I mean, you don't hear a lot of stories like that anymore.
No,
like times have changed. Like I mean, I don't really hear like my father before they moved down from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Right. I was not born yet. I'm the youngest of 6, and the 5 of them, my brothers and sisters, moved down with my parents. Right, and then 2 years later, I was born. So. The few, the proud. I'm a Florida native, right? I told them
all my kids were born in Florida.
I tell them I'm the lucky one. You guys are all from New Jersey. You suck. But my dad worked 3 jobs in Jersey City after he was in the Air Force, and he served in the Korean War. And then he came back, and he was a sheet metal fabricator. He worked construction, and he was a Jersey City firefighter. Did all 3 of those at the same time, and he was a hard-working man, and he was raising. We went up to my wife is from New Jersey, and so for my son's birthday last summer, we were up in New Jersey, and we went to Liberty Park Museum, which is in Jersey City, right there at you could see the Statue of Liberty from the water, right?
I've been there. Yeah. I almost got robbed.
Really? Yeah. It's not the cleanest park in the world.
It's pretty bad.
But I'm like, we're only a couple blocks from that house they're raised in, and I called up my sister. I'm like, what was the address again? She told me. So we were only a couple blocks. I typed it in, and we went. And man, that place was a small shack.
Yeah.
And it's not the best neighborhood right now.
No.
It was a decent place to live back then, so they say. But right now, it's just not a nice place to live.
It's funny that you say that, because I was just talking to a friend, because I come from Western Michigan, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I'm from a town called Byron Center, which when I was born there,
Medium Rapids.
What?
Medium Rapids.
You went there and saw it. They don't have Grand Rapids.
Medium Rapids.
It's so funny they call it Grand Rapids. There's a couple of rocks in the middle of a river.
Yeah.
But a lot of that community there is Dutch, like me, and a lot of them came around the same time, right after World War II. So we were like, man, it'd be cool if more people would tell the stories of like the people that came and what they did when they came. And how, I mean, we've all heard the stories of Rockefeller and J.P. Morgan and Discovery Channel.
The big successes.
We've all heard that stuff. But we have gone, I think we're starting to head into a direction where it's more organic. Where like my grandfather, who came with my 2 aunts and my uncle, my dad was the only one born in America, who my aunts tell me stories all the time about when the Germans came through their village, stole their bikes, like they stayed inside. The Jewish neighbor actually took the life of himself and his whole family because he knew what was happening at that point.
Wow.
They tell me these stories. They were friends. They grew up with these people. It's like, it would be cool to hear the stories like your grandfather in Jersey City and the little house and the more of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because more stuff that you and I and like the blue collar guys, the middle, we can relate to that, because it'll give us hope. It'll give us a little bit of drive. Your shop here in Pompano, it's just like, to get to know that. Like my grandfather moved into a shack by a little river off of 28th Street in Grand Rapids, Michigan with his 3 kids and his wife. And he started a steel shop because that's what he did in the Netherlands. He worked for what is now one of the yards that FedShip uses. He built ships. He was a welder. And he used to boil rats in his front yard.
Oh, who didn't? I mean,
to get them
I do it now.
No. To get them to scream. Listen, I don't know if this is
I'll
true.
try to do it too.
We need to Google this. You Google. My dad told me stories to keep the rats away. He would boil rats, and when they would scream, it would scare the rats away.
Really?
To keep them away from his house.
Come on.
No, I don't know if it's true. But he tells me, I heard all these stories growing up. But he came over, became a welder, had his own steel shop, and now Dellen Steel is a very big part of the Grand Rapids community, building high schools.
Is it really?
Yeah, Dellen Steel.
Really?
It's my cousins, and they build big high schools, big churches, big convention centers.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so, I mean, that all started from him getting on a boat after World War II.
Yeah.
And coming over, and my uncle and my cousins and everybody, It
was a much different time back then.
It was.
I mean, now, like, the world is so, like, connected, and, it's easy to just, communication is a big factor for growth, right? So, but it's just, I don't know what it is. I'm not a finance guy, but I know, I mean, by any stretch of the means, right? Art school, thank you very much. But everything just seems to be tied so into the banks, and just so like you don't hear those stories about, oh, he picked up everything and left and moved and went to America.
Yeah, but also think about this. We're dealing with what is most likely the most comfortable society the world has ever seen.
It's a proven fact.
We're all very comfortable.
It's a proven
why
fact.
in the hell would you move and try to go do something better?
Right. That's what I'm saying. You don't really hear those stories anymore.
My grandparents and many other people's grandparents just got done with World War II. They were not comfortable. They did not have what they needed, so they had to go get it.
Yeah.
So you're not going to hear a lot of stories about people doing that shit because they're comfortable.
I think that's the greatest achievement that mankind has made in the last, say, 50, 100 years is human rights.
Yeah.
Right?
It is.
That's why when you hear these stories about like places like Ukraine, it's so shocking right now because it's like, wow, that's still happening.
Oh, it's
insane.
It's insane, but also like, I mean, I by no means refrain from eating too much or having a good time.
Yeah, you like to eat too.
Oh, dude, I brought you 50 wings and French fries when I showed up here. But the big thing with me is like I think life has to have a little discomfort. I think we have to at least position ourselves like there's like this flirty line.
Right.
You could sit way over here on this side of the line and be comfortable and really not do shit. Really just, I got my job, I got this, I got that. Or you're on the line and you just push a little. And you just push a little. And you push a little. You got to push.
Right.
You got to try to do something.
Well, does that go back to the purpose conversation?
You got to have purpose.
You can't have purpose without some sort of discomfort,
no,
right?
you have to have purpose.
Yeah.
You have to have purpose.
And this goes back to, too, like that age-old question of people say, like, oh, if God is so great, then how can there be bad in the world?
Well, that's a whole deal. I mean, it's pretty crazy, like to go down that rabbit hole. But at the same time,
but it feathers into what we're talking about.
No, it does. But at the same time, is like God is great, God is good. But unfortunately, man, we have sin, and we have sinned, and sin and bad choices have led us kind of where we're at. It's just a lot of people will say, how can God let this or that happen if he's this autonomous, like almighty God? It's like at the same time, it's like, listen, when my son acts up, how you doing? You okay?
Oh man. All right. So I just had an old man moment. Damn.
He bent over to get ice.
I just pulled my back out trying to bend over for the ice. Nick, you're going to have to get this for me. Oh, you kidding me?
But when Dennis, think about it.
I'm thinking about it.
Think about it.
Thinking about my back.
I know, but when our kids or sons or daughters or us do anything wrong, there's consequences.
Right.
So how great, like, what is a good parent? A good parent is somebody who provides, gives instruction, holds kids accountable to their consequences of their decisions, teaches them through the consequences.
Right.
So to say God should just bail me out for all my shitty decisions and all this stuff, it's not going to work, dude. Like, it's like, listen, life has consequences. You make decisions, they have consequences.
So here's, all right, so I am going to completely thump the Bible right here.
Oh,
you ready?
I'll have one more.
So one of the lessons in that is like Joseph and the coat of many colors.
Yep.
Right? And the fact that why would God allow his brothers to beat him up, rip his clothes apart, sell him into slavery?
Yeah, but how did Joseph end up?
That's what I mean. So he ended up in the favor of Pharaoh, but by the transitive property of all that happening, he saved thousands of lives in Egypt. If that never would have happened,
that's one of my
those lives would have perished.
That's one of my very favorite stories.
And I think that the answer to why would he allow bad for good is he always has a plan. Yeah,
well, I do not disagree at all. And that is one of my very favorite stories out of the whole. There's only a few things I like really base on, and that's one of the things.
Yeah.
And it's like he, through that whole thing, through getting thrown into a pit, almost killed by his brother, everything, he still had God's favor through the whole thing.
He sure did.
God knew what he was doing. So, I mean, But it's just.
I can go through even more details within that story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But this isn't.
No.
This isn't the Bible in your podcast.
We're going to start talking about fishing again soon.
Yeah, we should.
We should. Because now we're just to the point with the rum drinking where fishing would make more sense.
Listen. This is a fishing show that's not about fishing.
No, I know.
Right?
We're connected by what we do.
Right. So, the whole thing that I wanted to bring up today was really purpose. Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if...
Have you read Rick Warren's book?
No, I didn't. Okay. I know you told me to read it, but I didn't read it.
I think it's a good intro to it. I don't think the book is aged well with like the last 10 years, but I still, when I first read it years ago, it was,
Well, the word of the day for me that I wanted to was purpose, is to talk to you about that, because we brought that up a few weeks ago, and I said, well, I just want to talk to you about that, because, a lot of times when we talk on the phone, it's like you're on your way to drop something off, or you're in the middle of the ocean, or I'm in the middle of painting something or whatever like that. We never really get to sit down and really talk through this, so I'm glad we are talking about it, because I think it's important also, first of all, to have these conversations with a friend. Mm-hmm. Right. And I don't think enough people do that.
No.
I don't think enough people sit down with a friend and have these kinds of conversations.
Well, and that goes back to why fellowship is so important.
100%. And this is one of my favorite parts about this show. Is because, A, I have the best sponsors in the world that let me do and talk about whatever the hell I want to do and talk about. Right. And it's because I'm open and honest and genuine and authentic with them, and they are with me as well. Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's important, and I hope that if you tuned into the show, you're listening or you're watching, and you're not necessarily a religious person, but you've hung on with us for this long, I want you to understand, though, that this is really the point of today. Yeah. Is that I don't think enough people sit down man to man with a friend and have a heart-to-heart conversation, because it's a very hard thing to do.
It is.
A lot of times you'll go out to play golf with a buddy, or you'll go out with a bar, go fishing or you go to a bar and you hang out, and you really just small talk.
Yeah, it's all small talk.
And when you do have those conversations where you can get through to each other, and I think it's very therapeutically, it helps you out. Well, whether you don't have to talk about God every time. We talk about it because we have that in common.
That's what we have in common, and that's our background. And to add to that, iron sharpens iron.
Right.
And for us, and our relationship with God, our religion is our religion. And thankfully I'm believe in a religion, and what I believe about it is I need to respect everybody for their beliefs, and I need to be kind to everyone and accepting of everyone. We don't have to agree to be friends. Right. We don't have to, I have friends who are polar opposites of me, and you know what? I just love people, man.
Yeah.
I was down in the Dominican Republic with a bunch of great guys, and we were sitting out barbecuing, and I just looked around, and I'm like, dude, this is what it's all about.
Sure.
This is what's all. Sure, we're here to go blue marlin fishing, and it's amazing, but really the community, the fellowship, and the friendships are really what it's all about. And as for guys going golfing and different things, that's part of our culture too, because we've gotten to a point in life where people are afraid to call people out in a loose manner. But listen, if you're my friend and you're fucking up, I'm gonna. Dude, you're fucking up. This is that was a poor decision. Yeah. And I'm saying it because I care about you. I'm not saying it to be a jerk. I'm not saying it to be rude. I'm saying it because I care. But our society, if you were to go up to somebody, and depending on who you're friends with, and you said something like that, they'd be offended. They'd be hurt. They'd be this. They'd be that.
Yeah.
It's you gotta be able to be honest with people. When my guys downstairs screw up, I try to give them all the credit in the world, which they are amazing. I have great guys that I work with. Mm-hmm. I think they're the very best of anybody I could be with right now. The absolute best.
That's great.
And I've had numerous people tell me about them. I've had people call me to tell me about my guys. I am in the best spot I've ever been in on Singularis at this moment.
That's great to hear.
It's awesome.
I'm happy for you, because I know that you've gone through a lot of things.
Well, we go through a lot of people because we have a lot of a big program. We have a lot of things going on, but it's if I can't look down and tell them they really screwed up and just be brutally honest with them, what good am I?
Yeah.
You know? So as a society and as men, we need to, small talk's fun, you know?
Oh yeah, no, I'm saying
it's
don't
great.
do it. You don't need to get deep every time you hang out with your buddy.
No, but you need to get into friendships where you have people around you. Like Ben Sharp is one of, like Ben Sharp will call me on the phone, tell me how I screwed up.
Right.
and hold me accountable. And like, hey, what are we going to do to fix this? I'm like, dude, I need to do this.
Yeah.
You know, so we need to be more like that.
Yeah, Ben's a good guy.
And to end whatever we're ending, and we're going to talk about fishing.
Well, no, listen. I want to mention something about that though.
Mm-hmm.
To any young guys listening,
mm-hmm.
that, because like when you're in your 20s and 30s, you
Yeah.
go through friends.
For sure.
You outgrow friends. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
well, you move.
But some of the, or you move,
Yeah.
but some guys just stick with you.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the guys that ask you, hey, how's your dad doing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or hey, how's your son been?
Yeah.
Or how's your wife? You guys been on vacation recently? They ask about your heart.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And to those guys that are, you might be in your 20s or 30s listening to the show, and you got a buddy that's the funny guy, or you know what I mean? That
He
makes
might
the
not
fart
always be
joke
funny.
It might not always be funny, but I think then over the long haul, if you got that friend that asks you like how your family's doing, or
Yep.
how's that job going, or how you're
Mm-hmm.
feeling, what really wants to know about your life and how that affects you, that's the friend to hold on to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really.
No question.
Yeah, that's the friend to hold on to.
No question. And I think, I'm hopeful, man. I mean, there's unfortunately negative news gets the most news, but
that's the world we live in today.
It is,
that goes
man.
to what you were talking about before with
know.
with all these kids and what they don't.
Dude, the
what
stuff my kids come home and say the other kids say, I'm like, where would they even think of that? It's crazy. I didn't even know how to be that mean.
Yeah.
I mean, and
unfortunately, what's going to get them out of that is experiencing discomfort through it.
Yeah.
And understanding that really what binds us as people is people.
Yeah.
And not media.
Well, and I think if people have a purpose, a positive purpose to impact other people and their life, they need to just hang on to it and not give a shit what other people say.
Right.
I mean,
that's dude,
a good
trick.
I am a kid from Cowfield, West Michigan, driving Bayliss boats all over the world chasing down billfish.
Yeah.
And it started when I was 8 years old, going to Florida to our house in St. Augustine, rubbernecking every marina, getting out to every dock I could, until we finally moved to Florida and I actually had my boots on the ground. And like, if a kid like me from there I was building Lego boats in elementary school to bring to school for projects.
Yeah.
Like, if a kid like me can make that, just keep crushing it. Just keep going. Just keep being positive. Just keep being, don't care about what those people say. Because listen, if they got time to talk about you, they got too much time on their hands and they ain't doing shit.
Yeah, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean.
Yeah, exactly.
Tip a lot of cows in your day?
You know what?
You ever tipped a cow?
No, we talked about this.
Did we?
My son watched one of our podcasts, and we talked about tipping cows, and he said, Dad, how many cows have you tipped? I said,
see, that's the thing. Sometimes, like later on, we get drunk and you forget.
Yeah. So I said, I've tipped 2 cows in my life. One went amazing,
right?
Just like you expect. The other one went horribly wrong.
Like Tommy Boy?
Not quite that bad, but I tipped the cow. The cow went halfway down, stood back up, and then we were so freaked out. We ran through a pasture. I ran into an electric fence, and that's right. Yeah. So one went just like you would hope, like it goes down. But I will tell you, put your shoulder into it, because those suckers do not go down.
Yeah.
They don't just tip over. You need to put your shoulder into it.
To bring this into fishing,
yes,
let's go. I know we want to close the loop on the.
Let's talk about January.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
You got a lot of the guys are posting their fishing pics.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't have any, do I?
No. You're missing the point. I'm just saying, like going like to supporting your friends rather than ridiculing them.
Yeah.
Right. On good days and
Mm-hmm.
and fishing days and then there's people you don't know and
Mm-hmm.
keyboard warriors and my rule of thumb is even if you see something that's not necessarily questionable because you want to call that questionable, right?
Mm-hmm.
If something is like immoral, or not, conservation friendly or something like that. But if a dude catches a fish and he's proud of it and you don't know him, you start making fun of him because it's a smaller fish.
I never do it.
And just walk away from those people. Don't even comment on it if you got something negative to say.
Engage.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, I don't even engage, and I mean, even with like going away from that a little bit to like qualified captain and different things where people bring up both people that run aground, people that do this, people who do that. There was a time where I would, I was very like standoffish to engage with any of it. Qualified captain has used this platform to educate a lot of recreational boaters. He's done a great job.
I think that's been a very good
job.
And I think recently too, they've made more of a push. He's made more of a push to do that.
He's done an amazing job with what he's doing there. And but the bottom line is, and this goes for life. Everybody runs aground.
Right.
Everybody has a wreck, and if you aren't there to help them back up or patch them up, don't say shit.
Right.
Just don't say anything because negativity doesn't do anything. So, but let's talk about January.
Tell me about January.
What'd you do in January? You painted your mural.
I've been painting the mural at the Cove.
Yep.
And we're about a couple days away from being finished on that one. I've been everyone's like, oh, I didn't realize it's going to take that long. Well, I didn't realize it's going to take that long either. But there's a few reasons why it has taken that long. There's number one, I'm hand painting it with a brush.
That's great, yeah.
Always takes
awesome.
It's not like spray painting.
It's the real deal.
If I was using spray paint, I probably could have had it done in a week. But no, it's a real deal. It's a real painting. It's a traditionally done.
It's awesome.
Renaissance style technique painting. They know it's always take a lot longer. We've had to deal with weather, and hurricanes and tropical storms, and I've also had to run this place at the same time. So I've been splitting time between here and there. Okay. But I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and
good.
We're going to have that thing wrapped up here in a couple of days, and I just finished up a mahi today, which is...
I saw it. You sent me a picture.
Yeah, I was saving that up for towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. I'm very excited about this one. We're going to have a ceremony, an unveiling ceremony, and I'm going to do a poster signing and all that. And so for those of you listening that want to get involved in that, we'll be posting
I want a poster.
Some stuff. You'll get a poster.
Okay. All right.
For $20.
Good deal. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Just kidding. But so we're going to celebrate, and coincidentally, the Cove back dock, the back bar dock, and the outside, it's all going to be done very soon here.
Nice.
And that all should be opened up, so the Cove should be fully complete very, very soon.
Cool.
Which we're very excited about that. Lou and Joy have invested a ton into that place and done a fantastic job. And for those of you that don't know, it's the same owners of Oceanic and Lucky Fish, and they're just pros and they know what they're doing. They've turned around the Cove from being just this sleepy dockside dive into just a very classy place to go out and have a good time. So
I wish I lived down here.
Yeah, me too.
Dude, I wish I did. Yeah. My wife and I started. Our first place was in Lighthouse Point. We loved it. Just had too many kids and outgrew it.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, it's tough to buy into now.
Yeah,
my wife and I are finding that out right now.
Yeah, well,
the hard way.
We've already talked about it. Once the kids are gone, if there's any place we'd love to go back to, it'd be Lighthouse Point and Pompano, and we just love this area. Yeah,
so the Cove Billfish Tournament is this coming weekend, and that's just our local sailfish tournament. So it's always a great event. And,
we should just give the trophy to Art. Give the trophy to Art.
Well, Art.
I might have just cursed him by saying that.
Well, you might have, but I tell you, Tim Maddock has always been one that's been taking the crown on that one a lot over the years as well. So Surreal's taking it.
Dude, Surreal did great this month.
Surreal's having a very good month.
Yeah,
they're having a very good season so far.
Big rig.
Skip was texting me the other day, just 2 days ago. Skip texted me. He's like, "I want to do another podcast soon. Finally have a lot of things to talk about."
He's I tell you what, it's funny because when I started, Surreal had a 53 Hydrosport, and we had a 90-foot Bayliss,
right?
And now we have a 68-foot Bayliss, but they have a 92 Viking.
92, yeah.
And I tell you what, hats off to him. and what he's done with that big boat, because it is not easy to fish those big boats,
Right.
but it is doable. It is doable. I remember when I got the job with Singularis, the former captain told me, and he's a great guy, we're still friends, but he said, listen, he goes, the owner wants to kite fish and be in South Florida. He said, but the problem is you have a 90-foot boat. You're never going to win anything with a 90-foot boat.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to win anything. Well, the first kite fishing tournament was the Silver Sailfish Derby. We finished 4th and won a daily.
Nice.
And then we never did another one again on that boat. And now to see Skip doing what he's doing, winning money in the operation, winning money in the buck, it's really cool.
They had in between the 53 Sueños and the 92 Viking, they had
a
the 72 Merit, right?
Yep.
And I asked Skip, I said, so how is it now on the 92? And he told me point blank, he goes, in a lot of ways, it's a lot easier. He goes, he loves this boat. He
Good.
goes, this boat is just really dialed in.
Yeah, I think the Viking boats in the 90, I drove a couple 92s here and there freelance, and I've driven some 72s and the product, and dude, Viking does a great job.
Yeah, it's a good boat.
Viking does a phenomenal job. And the way they reproduce it every time to the same quality is pretty unbelievable.
I mean,
dude,
as far as production boats go, I mean, it's kind of the benchmark.
There's the benchmark.
Yeah.
And like we talked about before, like they're always developing something newer and better. We fished on Wednesday, and the 90 Viking was pulling into Palm Beach as we were going out to go fishing, and there was a couple guys on the boat who are their salesmen for Viking.
Right.
They didn't know the boat was going to be there, so we're all staring at the boat. We're like, oh, that's an 80. Oh, it's a 92. No, it's a... And we look at it, we're like, that's the new one. It looks totally different, and I have no doubt it's just another better boat.
Yeah.
I mean, they do a great job, and I'm super happy for them, because from what I hear, they're going to do a little bit more traveling.
Yep.
And it's a great platform for them to do that.
They definitely are, but they're enjoying tournament season.
They're great guys too. They're always so nice.
Such a great crew.
They are.
I mean, all those guys, they're all professionals, and they're all pitching in on the tournament scene, and they're all doing their own circuit, and they're all just having a good old time. So
yeah, man. Well, no, man. January for us was kind of a whirlwind. We did the Derby, and it didn't work out as we had fun, but nothing came of it winning for us. But I mean, it was just a great event again, because that's still one of my favorite events, because the community and the people behind it. Buzz and all the guys at the club, and it's just a great thing to be a part of.
Well, you guys did well in operation.
We did great in operation. So the best part about operation for me wasn't winning $60,000. It was winning, like, my brother-in-law is a retired Army, retired disability Army, and we've been trying to get him down to do Freedom FFO events or different things throughout the years, and it was awesome this year. I said, hey, it's going to happen. We're going to do Take a Hero Fishing. And he booked a ticket right away, got down. But the Hero Fishing Day for us, we swept every category. So we had the biggest meat fish.
And he fished with you.
Yep. Biggest
fantastic.
He caught the biggest meat fish. The other angler that Julie from Blue Water paired us with, he got top release, which then in turn he got a free stay at Margaritaville. And then we got most releases overall.
Very cool.
So it was just... For experience wise, that was the highlight of the whole deal. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So
it just goes back to the reasons why we do what we do.
Yeah. No, that's why we do what we do. And then first day operation, we end up winning the top daily on the money side of things. And then the second day, we hung in there, and we had enough bites, but didn't capitalize on the opportunity to stay up, a little higher on the board, but it all ended up okay.
So what's the next tournament that you're going to fish?
Is Sailfish Challenge.
Sailfish Challenge, and then the Jimmy Johnson.
Then the Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about going to Miami for everything.
Really?
It seems the way things are going, I mean, it might change. It might be a little premature, but it might change. Well, but Miami and the Keys seem to be where it's at right now.
Yeah, nice.
So, which is
I'll clear my schedule.
Yeah, come on down.
Yeah.
Bring the rum.
Yeah, I'll bring the rum. I'll definitely bring the rum.
But January was a whirlwind. It always is, I mean, so we we did well, and we had a good time, and we actually just moved the boat back to Jupiter today.
Right.
From Sailfish. We were in Sailfish Marina in Palm Beach for the whole month. we came back to Jupiter today, got set up, and then, probably in another 10 days or so, we'll make a decision on what we're doing for the rest of it. But if right now, Miami, some guys had some killer days down in the Keys last week. We'll see what happens, man.
Well, let me know after my procedure next Tuesday. I should be.
You're gonna feel better right away.
Yeah, that's what everyone's telling me.
Yeah.
People have been telling me that that you don't realize where it put you until you get it relieved, and then you. Yeah, I've talked to quite a few people that have had this procedure, and they all say, "Oh, I feel like a kid again after."
Dude, I'll never forget. Like 6 months after chemo, and I felt that, and they figured out what was going on. I literally came out of the hospital, and the next day I was like out running.
Really?
I was like, oh, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And I never knew it was happening. Like I never knew, like I had no clue that was possible. And, but when you go through that much chemo and they put that much drugs and everything else in you, like your heart.
I can't even imagine, man,
dude,
what you've been through with that.
Listen, when you see someone, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
That sucks.
Not fun. But hey, dude, you stay positive and it is what it is.
Yeah.
At that point, it is what it is. So, it's...
much of a choice. I was talking to a friend of mine today that had some incident with their child. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And I likened it to like, hey, I have empathy for you because my son was born 37 or 2 months early and spent 37 days in the NICU.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I mean, you don't know if he's going to survive the procedure or anything like that on day one. And you just feel like you just jumped out of a plane with no parachute.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way I can describe the feeling.
Dude,
like you feel
helpless,
light and heavy at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And you just feel like you're grasping on to
so
something that's not
your son
there.
went to the NICU?
37 days.
My son was there for, I think, 21.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, he had a punctured lung.
Wow.
When they went in they punctured.
Wow.
He got a punctured lung. He's better now. He's fine.
Yeah. I mean, Sean...
He eats everything in our house.
It's
fine.
Sean...
he's 175
He's another one that
pounds.
likes to eat, huh?
Dude, my kids are giants.
Yeah, no, Sean was always healthy. He just needed to gain 5 pounds before they could legally let him out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah.
He was just really, really tiny.
Yeah, I just had a friend who had a baby girl, and she got born 2 months early and had some complications, and she was in the NICU, and he called me. He's like, how do you deal with them being there, because I can't do anything? And I was like, there's nothing you can do but take care of your wife, the kids you already have, and yourself. So there's nothing you can do. But by taking care of your wife and yourself and your kids that you have that are not in the NICU, you're filling all the bases, and take care of yourself. Because he was just like, there's nothing I can do. What do you do?
Oh, I can tell you what you do. Right? And maybe we can get close to closing on this one, right? And wrapping the whole thing up. Is that God doesn't make deals.
No.
So you can't be like, oh, if you save him, then I'll be this and I'll be good and I'll do that, because you're not going to hold up your end of the bargain. Mm-hmm. You're just a human being. That's the way it goes. But just have faith that God has a plan.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. Is you can't think you got to give up the control at that point.
Right.
But I think that's a good thing for people to know.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing for people to realize that you aren't in control of this bus.
Yeah.
Like you get to ride on it. You
Yeah.
get to make some decisions here and there, but you just need to have faith in the bus driver.
That's it. A lot of people want to cut deals. Oh, please just let my football team win and I'll be good. And
I don't even go
whatever.
Right? Did you see the game last night?
Oh my God.
That's a whole other podcast. We won't talk about that. I stayed up. I never. I think
dumbass classifies the whole thing. Right?
I never stay up for like the whole deal, all the games, everything else. But yesterday I was like, it was the first day where I really didn't have to worry about any work, nothing. So I was like, I'm at home. I got a rum drink. We're going in the pool. We're playing with the kids. We had a fire with the kids. But I'm staying up for all the games, and I'm watching this. And when that last game ended, I was like, I stayed up for this?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I thought it was going to overtime.
Oh,
we were going to see a classic.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, Nick, what did you say? They shouldn't have gotten to that point? Or
It was horrible. But hey, let's go to the Super Bowl.
Poor Joe Burrow. Poor Joe.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we got deep on that. All right. Well, hey, listen.
Dude, whatever.
All right. So listen, if you stuck around with us for this long, I'm changing my website to Connected by God. And go
listen, I don't ever come here to get on a tangent, and I am the last person to ever get on one because I am.
But I like talking about it with you because you're knowledgeable and you have a lot of good open-minded points of view on it.
I think the biggest thing I found in organized religion these days, which has done a disservice to honestly myself and my family, is they can't relate with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Our majority of our religious community has isolated themselves in a bubble.
Right.
They've built churches with coffee shops and gyms and all this. It's crazy. It's a Sunday morning country club.
Right.
And we've forgotten about, to me, and this is me, I'm not thumping. Maybe I am thumping now. I don't know. But we are in a religion. We believe in a religion based on being the most relatable man that ever walked the face of the earth. The most loving man that walked the face of the earth.
He was sent everybody.
Yep. He was sent here to love everybody, to share his wisdom, and relate with people. And I'll be honest with you, man. There's a reason churches are losing, they're losing their attendance. Like, churches are plummeting right now.
Right.
They've lost their relatability. And you don't have to sacrifice your beliefs to gain attendance. You just have to be honest and relatable. People love real stuff. People love, people love it.
I don't want to knock any other sects of Christianity or anything like that. And I've never been a big fan of the marketing campaign.
Nope, I'm not either.
So I don't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But listen,
it's part of it.
I'm Catholic. You know what I mean? There are no marketing campaigns. It's it's reverence and ritual, and you know what I mean, and that's the way we do it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like, I get it, and it's not easy, especially for the young kids.
No,
to be a Catholic in this day and age, it's very hard. You know what I mean?
It's very hard, but the roots of there's still a lot of great purpose, and a lot of great there's a lot of goodness still there.
Yeah, though there is. There definitely is, and I think really it comes down to, you know what I mean, having the perspective and doing it for your family, and if you can get through that, then the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah, and if you're relatable and reliable, you'll get it done.
Yeah, well, it's definitely, the Catholic Church, definitely relatable issues there.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, all right, so thank you for those people that listen to this and watch this entire podcast. I thank you for placating us and coming to church with us, apparently. That's how we did it today. You started it. I did start it.
I was going to talk all about January and
you know what, though? I mean, listen, I know, whatever.
It's all good.
We did it on the show, but, I don't know. It's been on my mind lately.
Yeah,
good. And then I had you across from me drinking rum, and I'm like, oh, here's John.
Let's
do
it.
So
thanks for having me.
You guys are just weird with us.
Do your spiel.
Do my spiel. I'm going to read my church announcements. That's what George Pavaromo says. He says, "Oh, read your church announcements,
He's
Dennis."
A cool guy,
that's what it reminds him of. I do want to bring up a couple of things that while I was watching the debacle of Cincinnati last night, right?
Cincinnati played a great game.
I had those little Publix popcorn chickens because we had just gotten done coming back from our road trip from St. Augustine.
Yeah.
And I stopped off at Publix before we went home, and I grabbed those.
How good is Publix?
But I dip them in the W sauce.
Ooh.
Right? And I'm telling you, those little popcorn chickens in the W sauce is to die for. Don't tell me another thing that I can get fat about. You like to eat, brother? You like to eat? That is what to do.
You should get a chicken tender pub sub from Publix and put that on it.
Oh.
We're talking fat kid right now.
Listen, leave it to John to take it to the next level and get dangerous.
It's only dangerous because we'll have a heart attack.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna name this sandwich. We're gonna name it Stranger Danger.
Oh man,
yeah.
that was fun.
I dipped in the W sauce, and you too could dip your popcorn balls in W sauce and eat them and enjoy them. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yep. And then I want to give a shout out to Finor Sunglasses, who they're on board with us, and we really do love that company and love everything that they stand behind. It is keeping that Finor tradition alive with quality products, and they do see fish, and they do
nice.
hold up very well. It's a very durable glass and very durable frame, and we really love being a part of that Finor family. If you're the market for a new truck or vehicle, like we always say, go head on over to Joey Carty Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and pick yourself out a Ram, a Jeep. It's like pick yourself out. Or the Wagoneer is really what they have in stock right now.
That is bougie.
Yeah, and that is...
They're so nice.
It's
crazy.
Yeah, we actually saw one on the highway. Driving up to St. Augustine this weekend, and it was really, really nice. My wife's like, "Oh, can we get one of those?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah. One of the guys I fish with drives one, and he's like, "We had a Range Rover.
Yeah.
Now we have a Wagoneer."
Yeah. Yep. Yep. They brought it back, man, and then they really made it nice. We've been drinking Papa's Pilar rum all night, as we always do. This is the only way we fly. And they are definitely keeping that Hemingway tradition alive. We love being part of the Papa's Pilar family. If you're hungry and you're in the Lighthouse Point area, head on over to Papa's Raw Bar, order something off the Connect by Water inspired sushi menu. And I want to remind everybody that sign up is still available for the Cove tournament.
When is that? Next weekend?
That's this coming weekend.
Yeah.
Actually, it might be a little too late by the time this airs.
Yeah,
but
I can't do that one.
Yeah. And head on over to the Cove and to get something nice to eat and get, enjoy good friends and family time over there and see the multi-million-dollar expansion that they just invested in. The place is absolutely gorgeous, including the 35 by 7 foot mural on the side of the building, which will be done by the time this airs, God willing.
God willing. It's only been 60 days.
Yeah,
Lots of stuff takes 60 days.
Right. Lots of stuff takes 60 days.
That was the best scene.
Wow.
It was only 8 years. Lots of people go to school for 8 years.
Listen, the Sistine Chapel took 16 years to produce. All right. Am I forgetting anything, Nick?
I think we're good.
All right. Your ego. It's not your amigo. Always do your best at the end of the day. Just let God do the rest, and do not ever forget that no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing, we're all connected by water. Thank you, Captain John Van Dellen.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Yep, cheers.